blessed Savior, calling the oppressed. Oh, ye heavy laden, come to me and rest. Come, no longer tarry, I your load will bear. Bring me every burden, bring me every care. Come unto me, and I will give you rest. Just take my yoke upon you. Hear me and be blessed. Oh, I am meek and lowly. Come and trust my might. Come, my yoke is easy and my burden's light.
Have you by temptation often conquered been? Has a sense of weakness brought distress within? Christ will sanctify you if you claim his best. In the Holy Spirit, he will give you rest. Oh, come unto me, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Hear me and be blessed. For I am meek and lowly. Come and trust my might. Come, my yoke is easy and my burden's light.
So just come, give him all you've got. Oh, come. He said, cast your cares upon me, for I care for you. Oh, I can handle it. Oh, yes, I can.
He wants you today. Yeah, yeah. His yoke is easy and his burden is light. Give it all to him. He'll meet you at your need. Just come. My yoke is easy and my burden's light.
home in his kingdom. Beautiful heavenly mansion so bright. I have forsaken earth's treasures and pleasures, seeking this city of light, saving me wholly by grace, saving me wholly by grace. I am so glad he accepts me and seals me, saving me wholly by grace, saving me wholly by grace, saving me wholly by grace. I am so glad he accepts me and seals me, saving me wholly by grace. He is saving me wholly by grace, saving me wholly by
This month marks the 56th anniversary since the assassination of Malcolm X. In remembrance, I'd like to offer this note from the late Professor Luis Reyes Rivera, Place I've Never Been. Was you there? Was you ever there? In a place you never been, but you knew you was there before and you were never there? I was. In a place I knew me to be when I was never really there. I was there. On a sunny Harlem Sunday, I was there. Was you? In a ballroom on a beaming, gleaming Harlem corner in a sunny sunset ballroom, did you hear? In a shiny, shining wildlife ballroom, did you hear the bullet cry? Did you see the man fall? On a bright and bosom Sunday, on a bosom bright street jam, spare me a dime, stale bread, bosom brother, sunny Sunday, Harlem, was you there? Did you see the bullet who cried? Did you hear the man's fall? I was there, in a crowd of pride and treason, in a chill-filled room of mobs and patriots, in a crowded crowd of pride and treason, where scared scars was ducking on, scared screams ducking on, scared scowls ducking because they heard the bullet cry. Duck! Because they heard the reason the bullet cried. Duck! As the man showed the marks, old shackles left behind, as his back arched tall, breaking shackles left behind, I heard the bullet cry. No, not me. I saw the man fall in a place I never was, where I must have been before. I saw the man fall. Did you? Did you ever? Did you ever try to be where you never could have been, yet somehow you had to be there on the 21st of the second month in a double-hour room type dancing, jumping, balling floor? Did you hear? Did you hear the gush of puddles gushing from the podium bench? Did you see the barrel cock sticking back a shotgun swing? Did you hear the pellets fly? Did you see the knowledge flow? Did you hear his woman's feet? Did you hear his woman? Did you see his woman's feet? Did you see his woman climbing over and up, over, up, over, up and over, face down rows of turned down faces? Did you hear his woman's plea? That's my husband, that's my husband. Was you there? Did you go? Did you go to hear a poem in his every word? Did you hear a poem in his every word? Did you hear a poem? Was you there? Did you feed the hollow cave of starving eardrums? Did you feed the hollow crave of eardrums starving? Did you go to hear his song? Did you hear him sing? I was there. In a place I could never be, I saw the bullet's tears tearing. I was there. In a place I could never be, I heard the bullet's tears tearing. I saw the bullet shiver, the lonely bullet shiver and push through the horn-rimmed frames of a strong man's peace. I heard the bullet cry. Why me? Why me? Don't make me do it. Don't make me. Taking aim at courage, I heard the bullet cry. Taking aim at courage, I saw the bullet cry. Did you? Did you? Was you there? Was you turning over chair holes, finding no room for cover space? Was you turning over chair holes, finding no room? Was you turning over chairs while the man was falling and the bullet lifting as the man was falling and the bullet begging as the man was falling and the bullet breaking and the bullet breaking and the bullet breaking through the throbbing corner of a people's hearts, stream turning chairs over chairs, finding no room? Was you there? Was you? In a place you never been, but somehow you had to be there, somehow, and you was never there. I was there. In a place I had to be to hear the bullet cry, murder! To see our manhood fall, murder! To watch a part of me fall. I was there on a sunny Harlem Sunday, in a place I never been, on the 21st of the 2nd, in a room I can't forget, on a stage I'd never seen, with a man I barely knew. I saw the bullet cry. I heard the man fall.
Good evening. Listen, I am so excited to be with you all this evening as the National Sunday School and HYM Congress presents to you our Black History Living Museum. This is the first time that we've done something like this, and I want to thank all of the young people who participated, who contributed to this production. Thank you for tuning in and spending part of your Sunday evening with us. We are just so excited that we get a chance to celebrate, number one, our heritage. We get to salute our heroes and also pave the way for our future generations. Listen, it was Marcus Garvey who said it this way. He said, a person who does not know their history is just like a tree without roots. Think about that. A person who does not know their history is like a tree without roots. And if anything we know in COCHUSA, we know about celebrating our history. It was our founder, Bishop Charles Price Jones, who made history. Our church sits on the foundation of one of the ground shakers, like the foundational element of the Black Pentecostal movement. So history is who we are, but we cannot stay in history. We're going to celebrate history, but we're also going to pave the way for game changers who are going to come. We just believe so much in our youth, and we want to celebrate them as they celebrate our Black history figures. Please sit back, get you some popcorn, something to drink, and enjoy your virtual trip through Black history by our youth.
Oh, hi there. You may be wondering who I am. I am a biologist, cancer researcher, a professor, and dean. I was born January 17th, 1924. I attended New York University from 1944 to 1950, where I received a PhD in cell physiology. I contributed to the field of cancer research by studying the cure for melanoma skin cancer. I was also president of Cal State Fullerton from 1981 to 1990. I was recognized as the first African American female president of a major public university. In the Western United States, I received several honorary doctorates and awards in 1993. I received a Lifetime Achievement Award from National Academy of Science. I am Dr. Jewel Plummer Cobb. Never give up on your dreams. Pursue excellence. Be an encouragement to others. You never know the lives you may touch. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kyla Carney, and I'd like to introduce you to Mahelia Jackson. I am Mahelia Jackson. I was born in New Orleans, Louisiana on October the 26th, 1911, and I died on January the 27th, 1972. My parents were slaves, and my mother died when I was 5, and my 2 aunts raised me. I grew up and became a famous singer and sang to people of different colors all over the world. I sang for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. before many of his speeches. Some of my popular songs were Come On Children, Let's Sing and Troubles of the World. And one of my favorite songs was Lord Don't Move the Mountain, and it went something like this. Lord, don't move the mountain. Give me strength to climb. Lord, don't move my stumbling block, but lead me all around. Lord, don't move the mountain. Give me the strength to climb. Lord, don't move my stumbling block, but lead me all around. I am Mahelia Jackson, an African American that you should know.
When you think about me, I want you to remember me as a politician for the people. I was also a statesman, a civil rights activist and leader. I served as chairman of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee from 1963 to 1966. I served in these capacities for the rights of my people. I am John Robert Lewis, the United States Representative for the people from the state of Georgia from 1987 until my death in 2020. Yes, I, along with Martin Luther King Jr., led over 600 marches across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama on Sunday, March 7, 1965, and was faced with brutal attacks by oncoming state troopers. That Sunday is now known as Bloody Sunday. I was one of the Big Six who organized marches on Washington. I stood for what was right rather than what was easy. I refused to go along just to get along, and that often got me in trouble. But it was good trouble, because I stood firm against wrong, no matter who was doing it. If you do not remember anything else about me, just remember me as the representative for the people who often got in good trouble.
Dr. Patricia Baff was born in Harlem, New York. She loves playing with her big brother. She knew that anything boys could do, girls could do too. She loved science. She went to medical school. She studied ophthalmology, which was the study of the eye. Her work has helped blind people. And I am Autumn Bryant, signing off.
I was born on March 14th, 1997. My hometown is Spring, Texas. My full name is Moon Ariane Biles. I am 4 feet 8 inches tall. I was adopted by my grandfather and his second wife, Nellie Biles, in 2003. I first tried gymnastics at 6 years old as part of a daycare field trip. The instructor suggested I continue with gymnastics. In 2011, I began my entire career at the age of 14. My first meet was the American Classic in 2012. I was made second appearance at the U.S. National Championships in St. Louis, Missouri. I finished third in all around, first on vault, and 6th on uneven bars, balance beam, and floor exercise. I was named to be the junior national team by a committee headed by Martha Cronoli. I am an artistic gymnast. I am a 5-time world all-around champion in 2003, 2015, 2018, and 2019. I won the most gold medals. I am the greatest gymnast of all time. I am a 3-time world vault champion in 2014, 2015, and 2019.
I graduated high school when I was 14. I'm really good at math. I
people go to space? I have big shoes to fill. I am Katherine Johnson.
My name is Frederick Douglass. I was born into slavery in the state of Maryland. I was born Frederick Augustus Washington Bailey. After I escaped from slavery, I changed my name to Frederick Douglass. After I was taught the alphabet, I taught myself to read and write and taught other enslaved people to read using the Bible. I became an abolitionist, an author, and a public speaker. I was totally and completely against slavery and worked to free my people from slavery before the Civil War. I was often physically assaulted because of my leadership in the abolitionist movement. In one brutal attack, my hand was broken. It never fully healed, and I never had full use of that hand again. But that did not stop me from pushing forward in the movement. On one occasion, I spoke to a group of people, and this is in essence what I said. I want to ask one question. What to the American slave is your 4th of July? Before you answer, I have an answer for you. In short, it is empty and heartless. The main reason I became an abolitionist after I escaped from slavery was because no man should own another human being. We are all men, no matter creed or color, and we are equal in the sight of God. I know this to be true because one in God is a majority. I, Frederick Douglass, stand against slavery and will stand against it until the day I die.
Hey, I'm Jackie Robinson, and I was born January 31st, 1919. I grew up in Pasadena, and I love sports. I ran track in high school, and I also played football, baseball, tennis, and basketball. I was the best on my team. When I was on the field, people were nice to me, but off the field, I didn't matter because I was a black young man. I played baseball all through college. I played semi-professional football for the Honolulu Bears in 1941. I decided I wanted to try out for the Chicago White Sox in March of 1942. Didn't make that team. April 3rd, 1942, I joined the U.S. Army, the segregated unit, of course. I was arrested in July of that year for not going to the back of the military bus. I had a court material trial that prevented me from joining my unit overseas during World War II. I was honorable discharged as a few months later. In 1945, I joined the Kansas City Monarchs. I tried out for the Boston Red Sox that same year. Didn't make that one either. I signed with the Brooklyn Dodgers organization in August of 1945. I actually played for the Montreal Royals. The Dodgers bought my contract in 1947, and I was officially in the big leagues. I played my first game on April 15, 1947. That year, we won the pennant, and I was named Rookie of the Year. I went on to win MVP in 1949. I played in my movie about myself in 1950. Me and my team won a championship in 1955 by beating the New York Nets 7 times. I decided to retire in January 1957 and joined the restaurant business. I was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1962. 1972 was one heck of a year. First, the Brooklyn Dodgers retired my number. Next, I threw out the first pitch of the second game during the World Series. I died of a heart attack 9 days later. I was 53 years old, and on my 50th, and on the 50th anniversary of my major game, the sport I love so much retired my number, meaning no player in the major baseball game will ever wear 42 again.
Hi, I'm an angel, but I'm glad I can swing like Jackie and dance like James Brown. I am the one and only Black Panther.
When Medgar Evers was killed around the middle of June of 1963, President John F. Kennedy said that, this was something had to be done. Black people were upset about a lot of things across the whole United States. There were riots and upheavals all across the country. In every big city in the United States, African Americans were protesting the conditions that we had to live with. We weren't allowed to go to certain schools. We weren't allowed to go to public libraries. We weren't allowed to go to restaurants of our choice. We could not travel on public transportation. At least if we did, we had to sit at the back of the bus or whatever. And so it was just an unfair situation that that Martin Luther King and the others who were with him protested. And Medgar Evers was one of the leaders in Mississippi. My father was also one of the followers of Medgar Evers. So he met with Medgar Evers shortly before he was killed. And when I was at Jackson State, and the request from President Kennedy came for a Black person, a secretary, to integrate the federal buildings of Jackson. President Reddick asked his group of secretaries if one of them would integrate one of the federal buildings in Jackson, and they searched for someone who would be willing to go. When most people were a little nervous during that time because Medgar Evers was just killed in his own yard, and for the service that he had been giving. So after they could not find any volunteers from the pool of secretaries, they went to the pool of student secretaries at Jackson State and asked if any of us would be willing to integrate the federal building in Jackson. And out of the search, I was the one that came forth. And so I said I needed to go talk to my father before I made a final decision. So I went home and talked to my father. And I didn't know at that time that he was active in the NAACP. That's the National Association of Colored People. So he said, if I didn't do it, probably nobody would do it. So he said he and Medgar Evers and a lot of others had been working for this day, and that I should do it, and he would pray for me and I would be all right. So when I took the position, I rode the bus to the Capitol Street. I had to walk down Capitol Street in order to get to the federal building. But the miraculous thing is that when I was walking down Capitol Street, they boycotted Capitol Street with nobody moving, nobody in the stores, just me on the Capitol Street by myself. So I was an easy target. But because my father prayed, I could feel the ushering of angels around me. I felt the presence of beings around me when I was walking. And I was not afraid. And that was the first time that I can say, I was not afraid to die. I did not have any fear. And when I went for my interview, I typed a 6-page application form on a typewriter, and I made no mistakes. and then I had to type a letter that had an error in the original. So the only mistake I made there, because I was typing about 85 to 90 words a minute, my fingers had typed it before I could catch it, but my mental alarm went off that I had typed an error. So I corrected that. So when the boss man looked at it, he said, I see you had to make a correction. I said, yes, because there was an error on the original. Oh, my original? He said. So anyway, that was a little trivia there. I was hired and I worked there for 2 weeks during that summer. And then I went back to school that fall. Everybody knew my name, and everybody on campus knew that Dr. Reddick had put me up in a dormitory and had security around the building because it could have been another death in the community. So with the protection of Jackson State security, policemen, and the hand of God, I was protected during that experience.
Minnie Joycelyn Jones, also known as Joycelyn Elders, is a famous Arkansan born in Shaw, Arkansas on August 13, 1933, which makes her 87 years old today. She was born to poor farming parents and grew up in a segregated rural place in Arkansas. She was the oldest of 8 children, and they all had to start working in cotton fields at the age of 8, along with getting their education at a segregated school 13 miles away from home. Joycelyn Elders grew up to be the first person in the state of Arkansas to become board certified in pediatric endocrinology. She was the 15th Surgeon General of the United States, the first African American, and the second woman to head the U.S. Public Health Service. She was appointed Surgeon General in 1993 by President Clinton. During her 15 months in office, she faced skepticism regarding her progressive policies, yet continued to bring controversial issues up for debate. Now retired from practice, she is a professor at the University of Arkansas School of Medicine. She's married to Oliver Elders, a basketball coach, and had a son named Kevin Elders. Considering that she started her life with nothing, but still she worked hard to help the people around her, makes her an important person in our history, Black history.
My Black history figure is Maya Angelou. Her full name is Margaret Annie Johnson. She was born in St. Louis, April 4th, 1928, and died in Winston-Salem, May 28th, 2014. She was an American poet, memoirist, and civil rights activist. She was the first Black woman to conduct a cable car in San Francisco, California. She could speak an additional 5 languages, which include Spanish, French, Italian, Hebrew, and Fonte. Her first book, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, was instantly a bestseller. She has lots of awards and more than 50 honorary degrees. She went to California Labor School and George Washington High School for education. She published 7 autobiographies, 3 book essays, and books of poetry. She is credited with movies, plays, and TV shows, which include Poetic Justice and Medea's Family Reunion. 2 life lessons is that she thought people should learn is that life rewards those who go out and do it, and don't spend your life living in anger and regret. Maya didn't speak for 5 years when she was 8 because she thought her voice killed a man. The only person she talked to was her brother Bailey. Throughout her lifetime, she lived in New York, St. Louis, San Francisco, and Stamps. 6 poems that she wrote was Passing Time, On the Pulse of Morning, Still I rise, a brave and startling truth, alone, and I know why the caged bird sings. A poem, Still I Rise, that she wrote, states, you may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trot me in the very dirt, but still like dust I'll rise.
Hey, it's me. Hi, I'm Ruby Bridges, and I was born September 8, 1954. I was born in Tylertown, Mississippi, and moved to New Orleans with my family when I was 4. I attended an all-black kindergarten because schools in New Orleans were segregated at the time. One day, I was asked to take a test that would change my life. I didn't know this at the time, but the test was to determine which black students would be able to go to all-white schools. I aced the test, and my parents were told that I would be able to attend the local all-white school and start the integration of black and white students. Some people didn't want me to go to school with their kids, but that never stopped me. On November 14th, 1960, I attended my first day at William Brent School. Federal marshals arrived that morning. They drove me to school and surrounded me on my way in. The first day was a bit hectic. When I arrived, people were protesting and threatening me and my family. They were taking their kids in and out of school all day because they didn't want to be around me. The school was integrated, but classrooms weren't. I was put by myself in a classroom with no other kids around. It was only me and my white teacher, Miss Barbara Henry. For the first year, it was just me and Henry. I grew to like her, but we became friends really fast. After first grade, things became more normal for me. I walked to school without federal marshals and attended a full classroom with black and white students. I was grateful for the opportunity, and after integrated schools, I attended integrated schools throughout high school. After graduating high school, I worked as a travel agent for 15 years, but became a full-time mother after marrying Malcolm Hall and having 4 sons. In 2001, President Bill Clinton presented me with the Presidential Citizens Medal. In 2014, a statue of me was unveiled in front of William Grant's Middle School. Ruby Bridges took a chance. She got the chance to make history, and she took that chance. To this day, she continues to make Black history.
The Woman with the Violin. In the Los Angeles jazz scene, violinist Ginger Smock was a prominent figure for the development of the scene. Not only did she pioneer the formation of the jazz music that we often hear now in the city of Los Angeles, but she was also a trailblazer for female musicians trying to make a name for themselves in the industry. And in the 40s and 50s, it was very uncommon for one to see a woman, especially a black woman, who excelled in the music that they played. So in the case of Ginger Smock, it was her ability to easily improvise and play a tune just by hearing it one time that sort of skyrocketed her success in the music industry of jazz. And this success even furthered and paved the way for musicians across the globe, including jazz violinist India Cook and Regina Carter, who sort of followed in her footsteps later on. Here's a bit of a timeline about her life. In 1920, she was born. 6 years later, her parents actually died, so she was orphaned to her aunt and uncle in Los Angeles. So that is when she moved from Chicago, where she was born, to Los Angeles. And that is where she further found her affinity for jazz, essentially. Soon after arriving there, they discovered that she had an amazing talent for music and jazz music in particular. And in response to this, they decided to purchase her a violin for their niece and further her talent and success by getting her private music lessons as well.
Go. Today I'm here with Alice Donegan. How are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good, thank you. So tell me a bit about yourself. Where were you born?
I was born April 27th, 1906 in Russellville, Kentucky.
What was your childhood like?
Well, my surname was Allison. My daddy, Will Allison, was a tenant, and my mom, Lena Pittman, was a laundress. We lived in a cottage with 3 rooms that was surrounded by an acre of land. Now, it wasn't a lot of land to do anything, so my daddy used the space on the Wilhelm farm that belonged to my grandma. My half-brother Russell and I was raised in a strict household. I couldn't have any boyfriends, and I didn't have too many friends either. We were raised on working hard and good morals.
You're a journalist.
Correct.
So tell me, how did that come about?
When I was 4, I started to go to school 1 day a week to learn how to read. When I was 13, I was writing news items for Owensboro Enterprises newspaper. I did the 10 years of school I was allowed to at Russellville. I got married in 1925, and he was a tobacco farmer. I started to feel trapped by the way of life, so I left the marriage and started teaching at Todd County School System and also taking a journalism course at Tennessee A&I University.
You also went to Howard, right?
Yes, and at the time, it was hard. It was during World War II, and I was a freelance writer at the Chicago, Illinois branch of the Negro Press while taking night classes for statistics and economics at Howard. In 1946, I took a job for the Chicago Defender as a Washington correspondent.
You were the first African-American woman to get accreditation. Tell me, how did that come?
While I was a writer for A&P, I was trying to get press credentials to cover the Congress and Senate. The government denied my request since I was only writing for a weekly newspaper. The ones who hacked those credentials were required to write for daily publications. After 6 months, I got my credentials, and I became bureau chief at A&P and was in that position for 14 years.
You were also the first African-American woman to be a White House correspondent, receive credentials, and be elected to the Women's National Press Club.
You're right. I used my status to ask questions about the civil rights movement, and race. I crossed the line every other reporter was afraid to cross. How can you be a good reporter if you don't try to test the limits?
Ms. Donegan, tell me about how it was covering stories on the White House.
Well, it was something. I wasn't allowed in some places to cover President Eisenhower. During Senator Taft's funeral, I had to sit with the servants. President Eisenhower would at first avoid calling on me for questions. Then he started asking me my questions ahead of time. Of course, I refused. And then when I was attending formal White House events, people would think I'm the wife of a visiting dignitary. When Kennedy came into office, he accepted my questions and even answered them too.
You've also published a book and received awards.
After the White House, I wrote an autobiography, A Black Woman's Experience from Schoolhouse to White House, and the fascinating story of Black Kentuckians, their heritage and traditions, which is about the African Americans in Kentucky and what they did for the state.
Well, thank you, Ms. Donegan, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Have a nice day, everyone, and stay safe.
I am D. Spike Lee. Most people know my name and not my story. With that being said, let's dive right into it. I was born March 20 of 1957 in Atlanta, Georgia. Although it was tough growing up in the 1950s, I was determined to not become a statistic. I went to several colleges. I attended Clark Atlanta University. I attended Morehouse College. I attended New York University, where I studied communications, and I directed my first 8 films, which led me to meeting Morty Ross. Let's talk about a few of my successes. I named the film 40 Acres and a Mule after a promise made during the Civil War that freed slaves. I also shot the film called Malcolm X, which was about the controversial Black activist and leader of the struggle for Black liberation. He had hit rock bottom during his imprisonment in the 1950s. He became a Black Muslim and the leader of the Nation of Islam. His assassination in the 1960s left a legacy of self-determination and racial pride. Let's talk about a few of my accomplishments. I made $175,000 in 2 weeks off of films called She's Gotta Have It. Another accomplishment I had was getting my film Chadwick produced by Amazon Studios. In fact, it was the first film produced by Amazon Studios. That same year, I also got an Oscar at the Picture Arts and Science Governors Award. Another huge achievement that I had was getting to produce the music video Bad for Michael Jackson. Not only did I produce Bad, but I also produced They Don't Care About Us and This Is It. So I was really good friends with Michael Jackson. With all this being said, I hope that you enjoyed this presentation. I'm Spike Lee and I approve this message. I ain't Martin Luther King. I didn't have a dream, but I did have a plan.
Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn through the storm, through the night. Lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, and lead me home when my way grows dreary. Precious Lord, lead me near when my life is almost gone. At the river I will stand. Guide my feet, hold my hand, take my hand, precious Lord, and lead me home.
I was born a slave. A year after I was born, slavery ended. I left home at a young age in pursuit of education. I became the first African American to earn a Bachelor of Science. I also earned my Master's of Agriculture. I received many job offers, but I decided to work for Booker T. Washington at the Tuskegee Institute. My time at Tuskegee started off rough. Many students weren't interested in agriculture because they were trying to escape farm work. Farmers also thought they already knew everything they needed to know for farming and weren't willing to try anything new. Regardless, I created many inventions and methods. My most popular method is the crop rotation. That's the idea that you should only plant certain crops every few years. I also created many inventions with peanuts. Though I did not create peanut butter, I did come up with ways to eat peanuts, different types of beauty products, and different type of cooking methods. Not long after I died, my home became a national monument. I am George Washington Carver.
Angela Davis, born January 26, 1944, is an American political activist, philosopher, academic, and author. Davis was a longtime member of the CPUSA and is a founding member of the CCDS. Known for many things like her huge afro and never holding her tongue, Davis spoke out boldly about the things she felt passionate about. As a major figure in the prison abolition movement, Davis, a supporter of the Soledad brothers, was charged when weapons of hers were used in the murder of a judge. She has referred to the United States prison system as the prison industrial complex and was one of the founders of Critical Resistance, a national grassroots organization dedicated to building a movement to abolish the prison system. Her strong stance against such injustices gained her a reputation that put her on the FBI most wanted list. President Nixon even referred to her as the most dangerous terrorist after her arrest in 1970. Later, Davis began public speaking engagements. She expressed her opposition to the Vietnam War and continued to speak out about racism, sexism, and prison industrial complex. The author of over 10 books on class, feminism, race, Davis has left a permanent footprint on topics that affect people of color. She is currently a professor at the University of California, Santa Cruz.
Chadwick Aaron Bozeman, a groundbreaking actor who played in Get On Up, 42, Infinity War, Endgame, and most notably, Black Panther. But he also plays a few roles in other movies. But there's more than just that. He went to high school at Hannah High in South Carolina and then went to college at Howard University to receive his degree in fine arts. Later, he went to get acting classes at Oxford University, but couldn't afford them at the time. Word got around, and famous actor Denzel Washington helped Chadwick in paying his tuition fee. While taking these classes, he was mentored by Phylicia Rashad. She was also a famous actor of color who helped Chadwick develop a stronger love for acting. She gave him the advice and guidance needed for navigating his way through the entertainment industry. Before being a major actor, he was a writer and a director of short films, some being The Short Film Heaven and another being Blood Over a Broken Pond. Not only was he a director, but he was also an executive producer for the short film Perfect Day, along with Derek Sanders, Brian Tucker, and more. Moving to the height of his acting career, Chadwick Boseman became the first to win a SAG award as a Marvel lead. Even though Marvel movies are highly popular and has a huge fan base, they were never really represented in awards. Yet, after Chadwick played his role in Black Panther, Marvel received 3 Academy Awards, which were their first ever. Chadwick alone received more than 8 awards over the course of his acting career, mostly due to the impact of Black Panther. Sadly, his career came to an abrupt end as he passed away August 28th of 2020. It was later revealed that the cause of his death was colon cancer. This was a shock to everyone as he had been battling colon cancer for more than 4 years. He kept this private from the public and continued to do great work on the big screen. He was truly an inspiration to all after realizing the struggles he kept hidden. Chadwick Boseman was only 43 when he died, but his memory will be with us for generations to come.
Hello, Senator Braun. Can you tell us more about your life and how you were able to become the first African-American female senator? We can't hear you, Senator Braun. Please unmute yourself. My apologies. I am the first African-American woman to serve in the U.S. Senate. I knew that I went to the Senate as a symbol of hope and change. I knew that my presence itself would change the U.S. Senate. But let's go back to where it all began. I was born in Chicago, Illinois in 1947. My dad was a policeman and my mom was a medical technician. My parents were always philosophizing about how to bring about change. To me, people who didn't try to make the world a better place were strange. I am the oldest of 4 children. After I graduated high school, I obtained my bachelor's degree in political science from the University of Illinois. Then I graduated from the University of Chicago School of Law in 1972. I worked as a prosecutor in the Office of the U.S. Attorney in Chicago from 1973 to 1977. Then I won the election and became a part of the Illinois State House of Representatives, and I held that position for a decade. Trials always show up in life, but you always have to keep going. In 1986, I was not successful at becoming the Lieutenant Governor of Illinois, but shortly after, in 1988, I was elected Cook County Recorder of Deeds. I was the first African American to hold an executive position in Cook County. I remember contemplating running for Congress, but I remember being dissatisfied with one of the current senators, and I knew what I had to do. I knew that the American people needed someone who has solutions, some answers, somebody that gives them hope. I was elected the Senator of the United States for my state in 1992 after defeating my opponent, Alan Dixon. I believe that I was very productive as a senator in my state. But I want you all to remember this one thing. Magic lies in challenging what seems impossible. Good evening. My name is Joy Myers, and tonight we will continue talking about powerful African Americans in journalism. Tonight we will focus on Joy Reid. Joy Reid was born December 8th, 1968 in New York City. Her mother was from Guyana and her father was from the Democratic Republic of Congo. She has one brother and one sister, and they were all raised as Methodist. Her parents divorced and she was soon raised in Denver, Colorado until the age of 17 after her mother died from breast cancer. Reid attended Harvard University where she graduated with a concentration in visual art and documentation film. She began her journalism career in 1997, leaving her job in New York to begin working in South Florida for a Channel 7 morning news show. Soon after, she began broadcasting as a talk show radio host and worked on former President Barack Obama's 2008 presidential campaign. From February 2014 to February 2015, Reid hosted her own MSNBC afternoon cable news show, The Reid Report. Since May 2016, Reid has hosted AM Joy, a political morning talk show on MSNBC. In July 2020, MSNBC announced that Reid would host The Readout, a Washington-based weeknight show in the 7 p.m. Eastern Time slot, making her the first primetime Black anchor on MSNBC. Reid also teaches at a university class in Manhattan exploring race, gender, and the media. In 2018, Reid was nominated 3 NABJ Salute to Excellence Awards. One for her segment where a pastor is pulled to safety at the Charlottesville White Nationalist March. One for Reid's reporting on the damage caused by the hurricanes to the U.S. Virgin Islands. And lastly, for the segment that won her an award, Tragedy of Time, the Kalief Browder story, where Reid sat down with Kalief's brother, Dion Browder, and filmmaker Julia Mason. That is all we have time for tonight. Thank you for listening.
Sammy. Here lies the body of Sammy Davis Jr. He was born December 8, 1925. He was a famous actor, comedian, and singer. He was best known for his work in Ocean's 11 and Sergeants, and best known for his song Mr. Candyman. At a young age, he started performing with his uncle and father and didn't receive a proper education, but learned very different many instruments. His first appearance was for Rufus Jones, who was the president at the time. He was eventually drafted into the Army in 1943
which put a pause on his music. He then started back doing music and was even involved in a group called Rat Pack. In the 1960s, Sammy Davis Jr. was involved with civil rights and what he did to involve himself in this social activism. He marched in all the marches and even married a Swedish actress by the name of May Britt, because at this time it was forbidden for interracial couples. It was so forbidden that John F. Kennedy banned them from coming to his inauguration. Sammy Davis even put out 2 albums and did headlining performances in 1955. He was then in a car crash and lost his eye while he was on his way to record a new song. When this happened to Sammy Davis, he had to replace his eye with a glass eye. Sammy Davis died May 16, 1990 because of throat cancer. We remember him and we love him, Mr. Candyman.
Pretty women wonder where my secret lies. I'm not cute or built to suit a fashion model size. But when I start to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. I say it's in the reach of my arms, the span of my hips, the stride of my step, the curl of my lips. I'm a woman, phenomenal woman. That's me. I walk into a room just as cool as you please. Into a man, the fellows stand or fall down on their knees. Then they swarm around me, a hive of honeybees. I say, it's the fire in my eyes, the flash of my teeth, the swing of my waist and the joy in my feet. I'm a woman, phenomenal woman. That's me. Men themselves have wondered what they see in me. They try so much, but they can't touch my inner mystery. When I try to show them, they say they still can't see. I say, it's in the arch of my back, the sun of my smile, the ride of my breast, and the grace of my style. I'm a woman, phenomenal woman. That's me. Now you understand just why my head's not bowed. I don't shout or jump around, I have to talk real loud. When you see me passing, it ought to make you proud. I say, it's in the click of my heels, the bend of my hair, the palm of my hand, the need of my care. 'Cause I'm a woman, phenomenal woman. That's me.
Hey, how are you doing? There's a question. Why is it important to study or to know Black history? If you've heard that question asked, maybe you've asked yourself this month, it's very important that we know Black history because of stocks. Stocks. You see, when you get ready to purchase stock or to invest in a company, one of the ways that you can know whether your investment is a good decision or not is to look at a thing called a prospectus. And a prospectus, or a book or a pamphlet with prospect, gives you an indication of how well the stock or that mutual fund or the investment will do over a certain period of future time. How do we know how well a stock or an investment fund will do over a certain period of time? We know because of where the stock has come from. And so in that prospectus, we see a graph or a chart that actually tells you what the stock has done since its beginning. All right? Are you following me? So if a stock has been around for 20 years, instead of being concerned about how well that stock is performing now, how popular that stock is now, a savvy investor will look back 20 years in the past and say, this is how far the stock has come. These are some of the lows, some of the highs, but overall this stock or this investment is a viable option and we need to invest in it. Young people, you are a valuable investment, not because of your slang or the clothes that you wear, the things that you do, but because God made you in a very special way. And he made you and fashioned you to have been descended from a group of people who have contributed amazing things to all of humankind, to civilization. From antiquities until now, Black history is our Black present. And if I were to conquer someone, if I were to be someone's enemy, I would make sure that they didn't have access to their own prospectus. I would make sure that they didn't know their value by removing from them all of the previous history of how well they performed or all the things that they've done since on the world stage since the beginning of time. So why is it important to study Black history? It's so that when others look at you and don't think that you are a worthwhile investment or that you have no potential, that you can look at yourself, and by looking at yourself, looking at your past or our collective past, and you can move forward knowing that you are a valuable bet. God has made you. He knows all about you. When he fashioned you in your mother's womb, he knew that you were destined for greatness. And now it's time for the world to know. And that's why it's important to know Black history. You be blessed.
So I'm glad you're doing this so that our young people won't take for granted that everything is okay and we can skip school or cut classes or do our homework, classwork, or look stay on the phone while we're supposed to be listening to a lecture. We need to know that this is not a plaything. We need to do our very best, be the very best we could be, use every potential and every talent that we have to excel ourselves and our race and our people.
Wow, what a challenge. Happened we had a great evening. We have had an opportunity to celebrate our heritage, to celebrate our heroes, and then lastly, now we have a challenge to go forth. Our theme song for this year is I'm to the Highland Bound. My eyes are on the mountain top. And I'm challenging everyone listening, regardless of age, from 0 to 99. Keep striving for the mountain top. Do not settle for anything less. It was in 1988, matter of fact, that Reverend Jesse Jackson said these 3 words: keep hope alive. And that's my ending challenge for you all. Keep hope alive. Don't give up. Keep moving. Invest in our young people. They are our future doctors and lawyers and teachers and entrepreneurs, but they need us to sow into them. Listen, before you get nervous, I'm not about to ask you for an offering. Some people, when they hear the word sow, they think I'm going to an offering. No, I'm not. But I am telling you, whenever you get an opportunity to invest in our young people within our denomination, within the community, and within your even within your family, I'm asking you to invest in them. Encourage them through your words. Encourage them with a few dollars when you can. But we want to lay a great foundation, not only for the future of COCHUSA, but also for the future of your family, for the future of your local church, and for the future of African Americans going forward. Listen, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope you enjoyed your time going through the Black History Living Museum. I want to thank Sister Dana Cajot. This was her brainchild. She put this together, came up with a list of characters. All of those who participated, I want to say thank you. Thank you for singing. Thank you for speaking. Thank you for participating. Thank you to youth workers who challenged your young people to be a part of this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, how can I end this? Keep hope alive? No. Jesse Jackson said that. What am I telling you? Never stop believing. The future is great. Saw that? I did my Obama. The future is great. So that's what I'm telling you. Never stop believing. The best is yet to come. Greater works. Let's go. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Take care. Bye-bye.
How sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
Our request was that we deeded that portion of Lynch Street. And finally, Dr. Peoples, who was the president now at that time, requested that portion of Lynch Street become a part of Jackson State University. And they talked about how it would have to reroute the traffic and da-da-da. So about 1960, I think it was around 1964, maybe 1966, that they actually deeded it to Jackson State University. And I was known as the one who started all the riots. And sometimes it was a joke and sometimes it wasn't.